Um, thanks again for joining us. I know it's a busy midweek, and yet you all took time to join us. Really appreciate it. My name is Kritika. I'm actually from the corporate partnerships team, essentially your go-to person if you'd like to discuss how to sponsor your staff, or maybe, in the case of employees, how to have your employees sponsor your study, right? So essentially for this session, we are actually arranging this especially for corporate teams who are sponsoring their top talents for this program, or at least are considering to, as well as employees of such companies. And for this session, we have our Associate Dean, Dr. Sean Ferguson, and Ms. Juliana Roth. She's also known as Jules, Deputy Director of MBA for Working Professionals Program, and a few of our astounding students as well of MBA-WP joining us today, so that you can get to know about the program, the curriculum, the format, the experience, and everything from everyone. Yeah. So we are going to be packed in terms of time. So I'm just going to keep my introduction short. Feel free to ask any questions if you may have, or if you don't find time to ask within here, you can always ping us separately. Yeah. Without further ado, let me hand over to Jules to briefly introduce ASB. And all of you to learn more about the program. Yeah, over to you, Jules.
Thank you so much, crew, and thank you all for joining us today. So Asia School of Business has been, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry, it's all started to hop really fast on me. So Asia School of Business actually began in 2015, but it was started back in terms of envisioned back in 1998 by Tanshri Dr. Zeddy when she was still governor of Bank Negara. And she wanted to build a world-class institution in Malaysia to help develop leadership for Asia. So she wanted students from all over the globe, but with the focused interest of developing Asia and becoming leaders in Asia for tomorrow. So this is a brief history of ASB, and including a merger that we recently had with eClif, who is our executive education branch as well. So we offer a full-time MBA, a working professional MBA, and executive education to the marketplace. And we are a collaboration with MIT and Bank Negara. So Tanshri Dr. Zeddy approached MIT because she loved their concept of action learning and applying what you learn in the classroom actually to the companies, and so that students become more productive immediately, as opposed to it taking a couple of years once they finish the degree to really show the value within the organization. So as a whole, our curriculum is overseen by MIT. A lot of our professors come from MIT, and all of our ASB faculty are international faculty associates. So they research with the MIT faculty. So they make certain they bring the MIT knowledge here, and then also develop a unique Asian lens here. So we just moved into a brand new residential building and campus for academic. Our academic building opened in January of this year. It's about 550,000 square feet. And our ASB residency opened last year in 19. So this is a glance of the academic building. So this is literally where all of our classes will be held. This opened in January. And this is where the students stay when they come to campus. So this opened in December of 2019. And so for our students, if they're a full-time student, they come and they live on campus for the 20 months they're in the program. And if they're working professional, they come and stay on campus during the weeks that they're a resident student here. And so we do just have a very unique and diverse student cohort. And this is across all of our programs. So between full-time working professional, we've had about 240 students. 70% are international, 30% are Malaysian, and around 45% are female. And they come from 44 countries from around the world. And the international diversity is huge. It's a huge component of learning, and it's a huge component in developing tomorrow's leaders. So as mentioned, we have two programs. So we have a full-time residency program, and we have an MBA for Working Professionals program. We ask students to pick the program in the format that is the right fit for them. And the same with the corporations as well. When students graduate, Both of them graduate with a Master's of Business Administration. So it's really about finding the degree that's right for you. So for our full-time program, students cannot be employed. And for our working professionals program, we actually require that students are employed, as they spend about 80% of their time focused on their employer and their job. And 20% of the time we ask that they dedicate towards school, their homework, and their studies. The years of work experience are slightly different. On average, the working professionals have about 10 years or more experience. And the program is designed for different needs. So usually students that come to the full-time program are looking to change careers in terms of function areas, whether they want to go from marketing to finance, where usually students that go into the working professionals tend to be more career accelerators. They are very happy in their company, they know where they want to go, and they want to accelerate the career. And so with that, I will move on to talk about the Working Professional MBA program. So the way it's designed in a 22-month modular format, where students come to campus and they spend a week on campus in a very intense module. They go back to their employers for 6 weeks, and then they return again in another 6 weeks to do another intense module. So it's designed really so that the students can have the intense on-time experience while still maintaining their job and being able to keep up with their responsibilities. We focus on learning in action. So our students take what they learn in their class and they apply it to their job. So sometimes that is in projects that they do specifically for their company, or sometimes that is in working on stuff like entrepreneurship, which our group has been working on this past semester. The faculty that they have about 50% of their classes are taught by MIT Sloan faculty, and 50% are taught by ASB residential faculty, which is intended to make certain that students get dual lenses. So we want to make certain they get the lens and the inside of MIT, and it's some of MIT's best professors that come here and teach, but we also want to make certain they get an Asian lens as well, because not all problems can be solved through one lens alone. They do get to spend 4 weeks on MIT Sloan's campus. For our working professionals, they can split this between 2 weeks in year 1 and 2 weeks in year 2. And then as part of the program, they also do 3 practicums where the entire class goes into a company. We divide them into teams and they work on problem solving for the week within the company. And at the end of the week, they present their solution that they've come up with that has been tested to the leadership of the company. And through all of this, we weave in professional development and with a focus on developing the skills, because you can be an excellent leader and have all the technical skills in the world, but unless you understand the soft skills, which we refer to as smart skills, you really can't get ahead in leading people. So we focus very heavily on the professional development, and we also include executive coaching, which we strongly encourage all of our students to take part in. And the executive coaches that coach our students are the same ones that if you go to our eClif and ask for executive coaching for your company, they're the exact same coaches. So this is an overall class profile from our MBA working professionals from our last 2 cohorts. It is a smaller cohort, which is intentionally designed so that we can give them more focus. And it is more Asian based, given the fact that students do have to fly into campus. So we tend to recruit more from Asia and Malaysia, even though we very much welcome and encourage people from all over the globe. And in fact, during our first cohort, we had a few that came in from Mexico as well. So the curriculum that we focus on is a general management curriculum. The students go through a core curriculum of classes. These are consistent for both programs across the board. In addition, they focus on their learning in action, and they've got their MIT Sloan courses that they take during their immersion in MIT. And then they've got electives. This is just a small sampling. Usually there's about 15 to 20 elective options to choose from. And in addition to that, the students, if they wish to do a specialized concentration, can focus in on finance and analytics. This is the first concentration we've launched out of requests from the students. And it also leverages heavily on our Master's of Central Banking program that we're kicking off this June. There will be more concentrations coming, but they will be in the pipeline probably a year from now. And this is a quick look at our curriculum. We have worked specifically for the professional development. We work very hard on making certain the students have the skills they need to get ahead. So not just the technical. because the technical you need and the critical, and they're the difference of whether or not you can do the job. And we call these sharp skills because even once you learn them, you're going to need to continuously build on them and sharpen them to continue to do your job and get ahead. And then the smart skills that you've heard of as soft skills, which are absolutely critical, as these are literally the skills that are the nuanced that help you lead and lead for tomorrow. Now, when we say that we bring the students to campus for 1 week, we usually bring them in for an intense week. However, this is what a normal residency week will look like. And when the students come in this year for immersion, this is what their schedule will look like. So the first week they'll spend in immersion, and the second week they'll spend in their first intense class. However, right now with COVID, we have had to make some adaptations simply because the faculty cannot fly into Malaysia, and not all of our students can fly to campus as we speak. So with that, what we've done is we've taken these intense residency weeks and we've divided them into a couple of weeks in the evenings. So instead of one intense week in October, there will be 2 evenings, 2 weeks in the evenings in October when students will focus in on their next set of classes. Now, they still need time off during the day. This does not mean work all day and go to class all night, because they will need time to study, they'll need time to do their homework and time to prep. And we recommend the students take approximately 4 hours per day to do this. But at least we've got it in the evening so that they can juggle their time, so that if there's a critical meeting that they have to make for you in the morning, they can still do it. Or if there's a critical meeting they have to make in the afternoon, then they can study in the morning and focus on the meeting in the afternoon. And this is a glance of what a current example of what it looks like to be an online student. We realize that online is not the way to go, and it is not our goal. Our goal is to be an in-person program. However, with the realities for at least this semester, we're anticipating that through December, that we will have a mix of on-campus and online classes. And then hopefully by January, with more vaccines, we will return to being 100% in person. And then in between the residency weeks, on Saturday mornings and most likely Tuesday evenings, the students will continue to take some of their ASB core classes along the way so that they don't require as much time out of work. And this is a snapshot of the time that's required to be out of work. Now, please note, this is the minimum time out of office to successfully pursue and complete the degree. There are additional options available. For example, in the finance and analytics concentration, those electives are offered 100% in person and will require additional time out of work. And students have the option of taking an additional immersion in the US or an additional immersion in Asia. And again, these would require an extra week out of work. They are not required, but they are huge value adds, and they're included in the cost of the tuition. So with that, I know that was super quick, but we really want to focus on our stars of today. And so with that, I will pass it over to Crew to introduce our student panel. Thank you so much for your time. And I apologize, Crew, you're still muted.
Yes, sorry, I was muted and I could not unmute myself. I think I had to rely on the administrator. So thank you very much, Jules, for sharing everything about the MBA for Working Professionals program. And now getting our WP students time to share their experience is actually almost like gold, you know. It's very hard to pin down their time, and getting them to share their experiences firsthand is incredible. We've got 4 of them here today, and it's really amazing. And so let me just briefly introduce who they are. We've got Merlin Ko and Hitomi Ng from Sapura Energy Berhad. We have Amir from PNB, Shukhri from Simon Darby Property, and these are our corporate sponsored students. And I'd like to thank them for joining us, taking their time out and joining us to share about their journey, the pain, the pleasure, the transformation, and everything. Yeah, let's have this as an interactive discussion. And to begin with, may I request each of you to do a quick round of introduction, a little bit in your own words. Maybe we could start with Mervin.
Thanks, Kritika. Thanks, Jules, for having us today. My name is Melvin. I started the MBA program as a project lead, then went into supply chain. Now I'm the business advisor to the group CEO. So I work for Sapura Energy. It's an oil and gas service provider.
Right. Amir?
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. My name is Amir Faiz. I work at Pemuda National Bar as a fund manager for one of the funds under the ASB stable. Yeah, that's it. Just started the program in October last year, and it's been a great journey. Thank you.
Next, Hitomi.
Hi, my name is Hitomi. I've been with Sapura Energy for 8 years. I'm an accountant by practice, and I've been in corporate finance for almost 9 years in my career. And recently, I transferred to a planning and business analysis department, where it's more business-driven unit.
And Shukri.
Hi, Jules, crew. Thank you for having us. My name is Mohammad Shukhri, and I've been working with WP Property for about 7 years now. And currently I'm working on a project, a township, a 5,000-acre township it's called the city of Elmina. And we're actually building, we're having this sustainability program that we're working on to create revenue generating activities within our Central Park. And we're actually moving forward with the business model as we speak now. Yeah.
Excellent. And thank you for that brief introduction. All of you already have exciting portfolios, and each of you are working on so many nation building and meaningful projects. So what exactly has ASB contributed as in transforming you? Maybe I'll just pose this question to Shukri and Hitomi to start with, and we'll go along. Shukri,
Okay.
do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so everything has been great. So far, it was the first few weeks of the immersion has been really an eye opener for me. And we're looking at it at a more broader perspective. You learn about things that you never thought that you needed before, and to improve yourself. So because at work usually you're stuck in a cocoon and in your own bubble, and you have like targets to achieve, you have deadlines, but you're not really investing in your growth, and you don't know what you're missing out. So like for example, in ASB you learn about marketing. I have a degree in landscape architecture, and you don't really learn about marketing in a landscape architecture degree. So but now suddenly you know that you need it, because when you learn in an ASB, you learn that it's not just about the ideas that you create. Yeah, in the degree they said that you have to be a great designer, but how do you actually market your ideas to your clients, to your customers, to your management? So those are the things that you didn't know before, and you didn't thought that you need. But now when you learn in the MBA that these things are really important. And I think one other example, I mean, my experience so far in ASB, learning about corporate finance, learning about how to read the balance sheet. So maybe previously you didn't think about this that much, but now the management in WP Property is giving us this power to actually manage our own P&L. So if you don't have this knowledge, I mean, even you only have this technical knowledge. So when your boss asks you to actually look into your P&L, so and you don't have the background, so this is where you gain those knowledge and actually try to get as much as possible from it. So I think ASB has been really accommodating so far, and especially my classmates. I think my classmates are really amazing. We have, I mean, the people here, and also we have 3 CEOs in the class, right? So when I'm driving to work, I see the HDC banner on the roadside, and hey, the CEO is my classmate. So I think the building your network here in ASB is a good thing, and you learn from other industries. Like I mean, I'm in the property industry, so I would also want to know about PNB and maybe telecommunication industry, the food industry. What are the angles that we can see from there? So all of this is great, and it's really an eye opener for me. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent sharing. I think you rightly pointed out, it's really about the smart skills as what we put in ASB, right? And yeah, having access to those smart skills, especially in this time when, you know, people don't really get to interact face to face as much, is really prime. So he told me, what about your views on the same point? How has ASB contributed to your transformation so far?
Okay, I'm gonna keep it short. So basically, coming from a business grads and accountant by practice, the question that most people will ask, do I really need an MBA? Because it's more finance focused, and usually it provides non-finance people to expand their knowledge so that they can climb the career ladder. But what I think is really transformative about MBA is that um, you don't really know what you don't know. So that's where what MBA is here to provide you. You learn about operations, you talk about marketing, you relearn about economics or even accounting, right? So this MBA allows you to know what you don't know, and then learn what you don't know, and reframe how you see things. I mean, being in a career for almost 10 years, sometimes you tend to stick to one perspective and one way of doing things because it works. But what ASB does is it challenges the thinking behind the decision that you make. So whether you're approaching in the right way. And it also train you to do slow thinking. They always say that go slow to go fast. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it's really what I learned most in this program, because sometimes you tend to just go into automatic processing. You just do, but you don't think. But in the end, it might not be even achieving the objective. So I think that is one of the most important smart skill that ASB really want to embed in each and every one of the students.
Thank you, Tom. That's priceless sharing. Good reminder. Go slow to go fast. And there's a lot that we don't know now, especially in this time, right? So I'm sure it'll help all of us. So Merlin and Amir, question is next for you. Can you share with us about your learning experience as such? What are you going through in the program? What are you learning? Merlin, do you want to start first?
Sure. I think for me, the program has the experience has been very, very fast. It's such a rapid pace to learn a lot of things. When I started doing my MBA about in the end of 2019, I was just someone from an engineering background who was leading projects. And in my career, I actually moved towards a supply chain, and now currently the business advisor to the group CEO. So I had to learn a lot of things very fast. So I think that was where ASB came into the picture. So I think the experience of learning is not just within the classroom. I'm sure Jules has shared earlier that we have access to some of the best professors in the world, but it's also learning from the business coaches. Because I had to learn so many things at such a rapid pace, I actually reached out a lot to the business coaches to get input. Jules would know this. I think Dr. Sean is here also. I've reached out to him for some things. I also need to schedule a next meeting with him to talk about networking. But I think it's that whole experience that you get inside and outside of classroom that really makes it, at least allows me to really catch up at such a rapid pace.
Okay, that's a lot to shrink. How long have you been in the program? You're in class of 2021, right?
I'm in class 2021, so we're gonna graduate very soon.
Soon, excellent. And you've already had your promotion even before you graduate. Congratulations on that. That was quite recent, right?
Yes, it was quite recent.
Excellent. And I believe Hitomi as well. Yeah, congrats to both of you. So yeah, how about Amir? What's your take on learning experience?
Right. Unlike Mervin, I still have a long way to go. He's graduating soon, and mine is next year. But so far the learning experience has been great. It really differs from the way that I've been experiencing my education. I've been through the British system from the early age until my university times, and but this is a first exposure to the American style of learning, so which is very high intensity, high energy, as what Merlin said, and it really teaches you how to manage your time, because at the same time, while the course keeps you on the toes, you're also doing it uh, parallel to your day-to-day job as well, which is, as it is, a very demanding job as well. So communication, it also teaches how to communicate with our classmates in terms of managing our schedules around doing the assignments and our work as well. So luckily, I have a very uh, a brilliant group of people around me in terms of the classmates, which do understand each other's struggles if there's any, and that makes it easier for us. And the experience of learning in ASB is one of the best experience in terms of learning I've gone through, because it varies in terms of how we earn our grades. So we have essays. We also have to do videos, which does test us on our creativity as well and how we communicate. And we do have to earn our grades via class participation, which gives you an opportunity to train to articulate your thoughts and to communicate your points across. So that's a very good training ground um, for communication. And last but not least, the faculty is easily accessible to help. So um, to me, it's a very effective way to facilitate learning. And yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, I think this is where the value of a face-to-face interaction, it's a little hybrid, right? We've got face-to-face classroom time and online time. This is where it makes a difference, as opposed to a fully online program where you may not have that community of, peers, peer students and faculty as well. Okay, next question is on learning in action, which is a huge component of the program, right? Which makes it really that unique, wherein you get to solve real problems at work in your own role. So can I pose this question to Shukhri and Merlin? Can you share what happened at your learning in action? Shukhri first.
Yep, sure. So now we're in learning in action for semester number 2. It's more on the entrepreneurial side of it, but I think I want to stress on the first semester, in which the learning in action is basically what you learn in class during that semester, and you just need to have the takeaways on what you learn and try to apply it straight away into your work. So for example, during the first semester, we learn about the operations management, in which operation management actually applies to every industry or work. So for example, in my industry, we have the process of designing until the construction stage, the tender process and whatnot. So basically they teach you operation management, and then they ask you to try to relate it to your work in terms of, in my case, you really learn about the process flow of your work. So you know where the bottleneck is, where does the work actually have more intensive labors that is needed and whatnot. So it instead of just learning about it in theory, you get the experience to actually apply it into your work in the same semester. So while it's still fresh, you actually get to apply it and see how it works. So I think that's kind of a creative way to actually learn and have build your thoughts on what you've learned. So I think it's a good way uh, to see I mean, it's a good way to actually think of how to actually apply what you learn to in your work.
That's good. And Merlin, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with Shukri. It's a lot about applying what we learn in class into the real world. I think that's where the value would really come in, not just a certificate, right? So I think from my end, my experience, I've done about 4 ALs now for action learning programs. So I find that it's a very safe zone to try very different approaches to solving a problem. So I talked about having access to business coaches later that help you, but maybe I would share like I reach out a lot to the classmates too. So I think like what Shukri also shared that some of our classmates are CEOs and all. So we do reach out to them to see how they solve it and bring that and see how we could apply it within our company. So I think for me, I think my second action learning project was probably the more successful. I think we did an initiative in the company, and I managed to work with the team to come up with up to 5.5 million ringgit of savings. So that's really something you see that started off just in a classroom as an action learning project, but over the course of 1 year, it was fully implemented in the company. So it's something about putting what you learn into practice.
That's great that you can actually quantify it as well. And it's always great when it results in some sort of dollar value, right? Okay, I see that all of you are actually extremely busy juggling your roles and, juggling study and projects. But I'd like to pose this question to Amir and Hitomi. How are you actually doing this beautiful juggle, find balance? Hitomi, want to take a stab at it first?
Okay. How do I juggle? Just a background. I'm not married, so I don't have a family. If you ask me how do I juggle, I think it's really easy for me because there's only work and study. It takes up the entire 24 hours except sleeping. So it is a constant struggle, I would say, because even though we would communicate to our superiors or the HR about our time off commitment, but a lot of the times it doesn't work because they'll still expect you to deliver. So that's really stressful because you still need to deliver with the limited time that you have, but at the same time you need to prepare for your classes, you need to participate and also deliver the assignments. So I would say a very fundamental piece to help employees to juggle is really the management and also the HR's understanding to really give them the time off to focus so that they can benefit fully from the program. So for me, it's always like I plan my day by the hours. So I need to move on from one thing to the other because I know that I don't have much time. So if I dedicate this hour, then I have to focus on the work. Then I'll switch. I'll go back to study, and I'll keep on juggling. So every day is the juggling act.
And I think there's a core discipline to it. I spot a lot of discipline in your approach. Amir, what do you do?
Okay, so first of all, I think the most important thing is to get the support to your of the stakeholders, which is in this case, for me, is my immediate boss, the boss, the head of division, and also my family members as well. So if you have got their support, it will be easier for you to maneuver around the schedule, the packed schedule. You have your work and you have um, your WP program, which it sounds like a part-time program, but it does feel like a full-time program. So because it's a constant learning, there's no really off time. So what I do, for example, although the program has been sponsored by the HR of PMB, but I do still go to my bosses and get their buy-ins. So I go to my immediate boss, I get their buy-ins, and if that okay, go to head of department, and they're okay, I go to the head of division. So when those three people, the key people are okay, then it will be easier for you to, for example, taking time off for the program or ASB program. And also I do have a great teammates that are able to support me when in my absence as well. So in terms of how I juggle is again, like Tommy said, it's a juggling act. So For example, if there are times that the schedule can get really crazy, so it's a matter of planning it carefully. For example, if I were to work in the day, then at night you have to make some sacrifices instead of watching Netflix or anything. Then your Moodle page or your Excel or your Word document for assignments is your new Netflix. And I think it also helps that in this pandemic, you run out of things to do as well. So the MBA is one of the ways that beneficial way to get to fill out your time. And like you told me, I'm not married, so um, the extra commitment from having kids or wife that is not there, but we still have my family as well. But at the end of the day, it also something is very valuable to me is my classmates. I think because they are all WPs as well, they have their commitments, other commitments as well. So we do help each other to find ways to go around our schedule. And last but not least is rest day. So I do keep a strict rule of having at least one day in a week where I can just rest. For example, I will try to free my schedule on Sunday, so I can get some rest to go into the next week. So, yeah, play hard and rest hard as well.
Yeah, excellent. And I take it that, it takes a whole village to get one candidate to graduate from ASB MBA, but it all boils down to your self-commitment and, what do you view as your Netflix, right? Okay, excellent.
Kru, can I add to Amir's point just
Yes,
now?
please do.
Yeah, so I just want to share that I actually had some trouble in the beginning managing work school life, but I'm just it's important to share your issues, and I think ASB has a lot of channels that you can actually go for in order for you to actually solve these kind of issues. So what I learned from some of the business coaches is that ASB has provided is time management is actually a learning curve, because everyone has their own way to actually manage time. And I just give you an example is, for example, if the class has like a 25-page case study that you need to read, so for every person, a 25-page for them to skim through it or read it in depth is different. So like for me, I need like maybe 2 hours or 3 hours to actually get into it. But some people, maybe they only need half an hour. So it's important to learn about yourself. How fast can you actually do these tasks? So when you know that, then you can manage your time better. So if you know that you need more time to read a 25 page case study, then you need to allocate that time. So, but if you know that you only need half an hour, then you can actually adjust according to yourself. So every person is different, and when you go through this rigorous process in, I mean, the learning process in ASB, you actually learn more about yourself.
So super point, actually. Yeah, self-awareness is really key. Thank you for jumping in on that, Shukhri. So this is our last question, rather rapid fire. I'd like each of you to give one sentence of advice for prospects. What would that be? Something crisp. Yeah, let's start with maybe Hitomi, being the lady.
This is a tough one. I would say that put on your seatbelt. You're in for a ride. A wild ride.
I'm going to write that down. Yes, next, Melvin.
We have this saying in MIT that the experience learning is like trying to drink from a fire water hose.
Yes, well known. Shukhri?
Maybe what are you waiting for?
I like that. And Amir?
As I said before, get your buy-ins from your stakeholders.
Yes, today we have a lot of companies join us. I hope the stakeholders are hearing. Yeah, Excellent. Thank you so much. I know how busy all of you are, and you still made this time for us. Thank you each, Shukri, Tommy, Amir, and Mervin. Really appreciate your sharing. And next on, I'm going to pass this to Dr. Sean Ferguson. He'll be sharing on values of the program itself, what it takes for the investment and the admissions process as such. Yeah, over to you, Sean.
Thanks so much, crew. I think you guys have seen from our world-class students the kind of transformational impact it's having through their lens. I think for us, the evidence is compelling, for this program designed for high potential working professionals. Both Jules and I have spent over the last 15 years working at top working professional programs. And while a lot of times people think of the full-time MBA program as kind of the flagship program, our experiences have made us, big time evangelists for this program, because we've seen, someone come into class on one week and leave at the end of the week and be able to make an impact in the workplace. And when you look at the places that both Jules and I have been, the kind of norms that we've seen at these kind of part-time programs is at least a 25% increase in salary differential between entering and exiting salary differential. At other schools, we've also seen about 50% of the students get promoted in the program while they're here. And if you look at our first two classes, our results have exceeded these industry norms. About 67% of the students in the first class have already been promoted and they haven't graduated yet. And then 31% of the students in the first class have had a promotion, title change, or expansion of responsibilities. And this is just, reflective of the kind of impact that they're having in the organization. So we're excited about what we're doing, and we're looking to get more partners. One of the things that I think is interesting as well, when we see of corporate sponsored companies, the rate is even higher, right? Because what that's emblematic of is a situation where if a corporation is going to invest in you, it's a good sign that they have a plan for you and they have a bigger vision for your career. And sometimes it's more than you may even know. Next slide. And this part of the world, this is where it's at, right? And so, people say, "What, Sean, you've been in Asia for the last 8 years." I'm like, well, Asia is the most important economic region in the world and the primary driver of global growth. And so if you look at the chart on the left, right, this is from the Financial Times MBA rankings. It's some research that Hamid and I did. And what you see, if you look at the two bars of the last financial crisis, right, of the last major economic crisis, the dot-com bust and the financial crisis, and Asia's been very resilient and accelerated out of these crises at a faster rate than other parts of the world. And if you look at the 20-year trajectory, if you see that, where MBA salaries were in Asia before and 20 years ago in 1999 and where they're at now, they're almost at parity adjusted for cost of living with the US, right? And so that's why this is the time to do it. And if you think about other parts of the world, when you take into account the opportunity that's there, as well as the environment, the chart on the right speaks to the salary growth differential that we see for ASB relative to international MBA programs. It's 42% more than the average international MBA program, which is typically European schools. And then if you look at the one on the bottom, it's 27% more than American schools. So Asia is a relative outperformer. Also, if you've listened to some of the COVID adjusted expectations for the world, the differential is probably only going to grow. I think Asia, because of its growth progression, was already developing innovative models for the future. It was the digital transformation leader of the world, and that's only going to carry on. And so having an education from a school like that positions you on the frontier of this growth acceleration is going to be critical. Next slide. So this is, we've also, as part of that research I was talking about, if you look at the bar chart on the right, it shows above salary progression by, different groupings of types of schools. And you know, the top portion is for working professionals. This is mainly based on the EMBA, Financial Times, the MBA rankings, and then the bottom portion is the full-time MBA rankings. And what you see is that between the scarcity of talent and the high performance of individuals from top business schools, that's what really drives that MBA premium. And as it relates to Asia, 7 out of the top 10 working professional programs are Asian, right? The rate of salary progression for working professional is faster than graduates of full-time MBA programs. And also it's faster. MBAs in Asia have a faster career trajectory. And so, and a lot of the working professional, we've talked about the Asian differential because of the economic environment and the opportunities here. But then working professional grads outperform full-time grads because they don't have this disruptive 2-year break in the career. And so many people who come to these programs, they're in a good place with their company. They like the industry or they like the function, and they want to do a more gradual pivot. And our professional program allows people to broaden while pivoting within their industry or function. Now, on the bottom part, while overall the working professional program programs outperform full-time MBA programs, we're still a young school, so we haven't had a class of graduates yet. But recently, we've done an alumni survey of the first 2 classes of the MBA program. And if you look, the annualized salary returns, salary growth of ASB alumni is 16%. And if you compare that to the bar, that's the black bar, the 16%. If you compare that to Asian developing economy alumni school graduates, that's 5.7%. In developing countries are like China, India. And then if you look at advanced economies, say like a Singapore or Korea or what have you, it's a 4.8%. And so ASB alums, just in a short period of time, are almost tripling, you know, the salary growth on an annual basis than some of the other top 100 schools. And we don't know if it'll be triple for working professionals program, but we expect our students are going to do well when we start doing our alumni surveys as well. That prior promotion rate that I showed you before gives you a sense of, you know, the value that our degree provides. And these aren't guarantees, right? So I don't want any of you guys, if you come to the program, say, hey, Sean, 67% of people got promoted, blah, 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 you know, but I think it's a good proxy to help you think about the value case. You know, one of the things that I always, you know, in my time in this business is that the one regret people have with regards to their MBA, especially for working professionals and EMBA students, is like, wow, I wish I would have done it a little bit sooner so I can capture that ROI and value even earlier in their career. Next slide. So when we talk about the admissions criteria, you know, what we're really looking for are individuals with a high intellectual capacity, but also that kind of people savvy that we can further enhance with our approach to SMART skills. For us, diversity is everything. And one of the things, you know, I used to work in Hong Kong at HKUST, and you know, a lot of that region is dominated by the China sphere, right? But Southeast Asia is a mosaic and kind of an amalgamation of all the cultures of Asia, right? So we need people of all different backgrounds because of the kind of the cross-cultural savvy that's needed to be successful from a business perspective in this part of the world. That said, there are no absolutes. So people say, well, if I'm not working in finance, should I get an MBA? And actually, the more unique you are in your profile, the better, the more interested we are in your profile, because what we're trying to do when we craft a class is create an environment that, you know, brings a richness of perspective and experience, whether it's professionally, culturally, temperament-wise, etc. And so these are the kind of things that we're trying to evaluate when we look at you. We want students to generally come from a recognized institution with at least a 2.5 GPA and have at least 2 years of experience. We also require some kind of proof of English proficiency, which is not really an issue for most of the students. If you went to an English medium instruction school, that's sufficient. If you didn't, we might have to, you'll have to do the TOEFL or the IELTS, and you need to be employed full-time, all right? And so those are the basic criteria. I think that's the last slide. Okay, yeah, so our last deadline is June 15th. And so, so if you're interested for the MWP program, we need you to, you know, submit your application. Deadline by the 15th of June. Once you submit your application online, we'll evaluate it. And as we evaluate it, if we think you're a fit, you'll be offered an interview, and then we'll give you a decision. Usually from the interview to the decision period time, it's usually about 4 to 5 weeks, all right? Maybe shorter. And
Yep.
one thing we also want is people to use their work email, so.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Sean. That's the last slide with a few of us. We've got one more colleague, Seth, who's missing from here, but feel free to reach out to us if you have any kind of questions ranging from how do I sponsor a top talent from my company to, let's say I'm an employee of a company, how do I get my HR to support me? Any kind of questions are welcome. You can ask it right now. And if you're not going to ask, you don't need to keep your peace. You can actually email us or call us. Any questions? If there are any questions, please put up your virtual hand and we can try and answer them. None, then we shall invite you to post your questions privately to any of us at ASB. And with that, I think we can wrap up the session. We are actually 7 minutes ahead of our game, but it's nearing lunchtime. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you here for participating, for speaking, sharing, and listening to all that we had to share. I would also encourage anyone who's from the HR portfolios to just drop a note to any of us at ASB so that we can actually invite you in for some of our key events that are happening in the upcoming month. Like we have a human capital forum that's coming up. I think it'll be a good platform for any HR leaders to get on. And if you're an employee, yes, please reach out to our admissions team. We've got Fazila in there. We've got Emily. We've got lots of colleagues who would be very happy to help each of your questions. Yeah, let me thank you. And Sean, Sean and Jules, any parting words?
Yeah, so if our students on the panel could drop their LinkedIn profile, we're a very intimate culture, and so connect and reach out to us. You know, I think that's the best way to get a hold of us, right? So
there are some questions coming in, Sean.
So the assessment, what does the assessment look like? So we don't require any assessment, right? What we're looking for, we're a test optional school, right? And the GMAT is not required for the WP program. So that's one form of assessment. It could be helpful if you maybe had a weaker academic record or something along those lines. Also for the other place where a test may be necessary is if you, for the English proficiency, right? So if you didn't go to an English medium of instruction, you'll have to do the TOEFL or the IELTS.
And there are more questions. What is the future for ASB master graduate? Are there any sponsorship available?
So, so what is the future of the ASB master graduate? So, so I think as a business school, we're only focused on graduate school of business here, but I think our approach is going to, you know, revolve around multiple things. We're going to be more digital in order to provide more access and flexibility. Experiential and lifelong, right? And so I think so I think that's, you know, what the future is for us. I think as a younger school too, because we're not encumbered by legacy vestiges of an institution of 50 years, we can be super responsive to the changing dynamics here in the education landscape, right? And so I think that's the other thing. So if you had to bet on a school that's going to be more enduring, I think our approach to action learning, which is, you know, now in education, you can't really have a school that only relies on knowledge transfer, right? Action learning is really teaching you how to learn so that you can learn to problem solve and make impact. And that's like at the core of our value proposition. It's not lecture based. We're actually teaching you how to swim in a business context so that you can feed yourself. The trade-off between full-time MBA and WP MBA, I think, you know, the way we've looked at it, and I think Juliana may have mentioned this at the, Juliana may have mentioned this earlier. The WP is for career accelerators, people who want to take a smaller pivot in their career. Maybe you're happy with your industry and function. You know, you want to move to different parts of your organization or such. And this helps position that move for you. Whereas for the full-time MBA program, that's for career changers, right? So people who have been totally miscast for the wrong kind of role professionally. But I think, you know, they want to take 2 years off to kind of have a career reset, right? And so when I showed that chart earlier about the salary progression differential, you know, the benefits aren't as great for full-time MBA students, you know, financially, because there's this disruptive 2-year break, right? And so each individual has to evaluate their situation. What I would say is, you know, for those of you in this room, if you have a company that wants to sponsor and advocate for you, if I look back 20 years on my time, when I graduated from undergrad, I worked at Procter & Gamble. And at that time, there weren't really high quality working professional programs. And so I underestimated the real cost of going to school, because when I left Procter & Gamble, you know, I was highly regarded. I was getting double-digit raises every year, that kind of thing. And I thought that, you know, and I had advocates in the organization, right? And one of the biggest surprises after my full-time MBA was that when I went to a new company, I had to build back up all that capital that I had when I left. And I didn't really factor that in to the value equation, right? Whereas I think if you do the working professional program, and, you know, they say this in a lot of the research, it's really, it's not as much about the money, but it's the boss and the people that you work with that determine, you know, how you feel about your working environment and your success, right? And so I think these kind of programs give you a chance. If you have a supportive environment, you have advocates in your organization, I think this program is designed for people in those situations.
One more question on MBA supporting entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so we have a range of entrepreneurs in the program. You know, one of the things that I tell people say, well, I think I can get this experience on the job. And yeah, you probably can get a lot of it on the job, but you may not get it in a quick time frame without collateral damage or big time mistakes. And so what the MBA helps you do is get the real underlying theory so that you can understand the subtlety of some of these principles of management education. Also, I think that, you know, a lot of times when people get it on the job, it's in discrete blocks, right? Whereas the MBA is kind of an integrated experience, bringing a lot of disciplines together. And then the other piece, you know, that you're getting is that it accelerates the horizon. So what you can do in 2 years from a skill building standpoint, that may take 7 to 10 years to learn on the job. You know, if you're an entrepreneur, if you can get, you know, something in 5 to 7, 8 less years, this will pay off the investment in the 2 years time. And we've had a couple of entrepreneurs said, just from like something like Learning in Action, they've paid for the whole program just based on some, you know, something that they took away and they implemented in their business.
I think that's all the questions that we have, and we are sharp at 12 o'clock, I believe. So let's reserve the rest of the questions for direct calls and emails. And I'd like to thank each of you again for your time. Stay in touch. Please connect with us. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Let's take leave. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.